What if everyone on Earth jumped at once? Let's imagine for a moment that every human on the planet, about 8 billion of us, stood side by side in one massive, synchronized moment and jumped at the exact same time. It's a strange image, like a glitch in the simulation. But what would actually happen? Could we knock the Earth out of orbit? Crack a tectonic plate? Cause a global earthquake? Would pigeons panic? Would we even notice? To make this hypothetical even more ridiculous and accurate, let's say we all gather in one place, because if everyone jumped while spread across the globe, the effects would cancel out. So, where would we put everyone? A continent-sized trampoline would be nice, but the Sahara Desert might have to do plenty of space, great weather, terrible Wi-Fi. Now we're all standing shoulder to shoulder. It's hot. There's no shade. Someone forgot to bring snacks. But never mind that this is about science. On the count of 3, we all jump. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and we launch into the air. A brief, awkward ballet of 8 billion human beings soaring a few centimeters off the ground. And then, we land. Boom? Well, not really. The Earth doesn't crack in half. It doesn't wobble. It doesn't even shrug. Let's break this down. The average human weighs about 62 kilograms. Multiply that by 8 billion, and you get roughly 500 million metric tons of humanity airborne. That sounds like a lot, and it is, but it's still nothing compared to the mass of the Earth, which is about 6 times 10 circumflex 24 kilograms. In fact, the combined jump of all humans would exert less force than a modest meteorite impact. The Earth, being a patient and massive old rock, would hardly notice. So no, we don't alter Earth's orbit. Not even a little. But we do create a shockwave. When 8 billion people hit the ground at nearly the same time, there would be an audible thud. Seismographs would register it. Maybe glass would rattle in some nearby windows. If you lived close to the jump site, you might think a small earthquake had occurred. But nothing catastrophic. It would be more like, huh, that was weird, then, run, the ground is opening up. But the story doesn't end there, because while Earth might not care, the jump has other consequences. For one, the logistics. To get 8 billion people in one place would take a level of coordination we've never seen. We're talking weeks of travel, housing, sanitation, and organizing the single most awkward group photo in history. International politics would get involved, arguments over who gets to stand where. There would be influencers live streaming their jump, others missing it because of slow cell service. At least one person would forget to jump entirely and ruin the data. But let's assume we get past all that. What would the aftermath be? Well, the land we gathered on would be in terrible shape. Trampled, compacted, littered with footprints and spilled energy drinks. Animals would be spooked for miles. Birds would launch into the sky in confused terror. Somewhere, a lone scientist would be shaking their head, wondering why humanity chose this as its greatest collective act. And yet, maybe that's the real answer. Maybe the most interesting part of this isn't physics, it's people. For the first time ever, all of humanity did something together. We synchronized. We collaborated. We jumped not to move the Earth, but to prove that we could act as one. Of course, we could have chosen something more productive, like planting trees, or singing in harmony, or solving world hunger. But nope, we jumped. And just for a second, the world didn't change, but we did. Now imagine this. Years later, children ask their grandparents where they were during the jump. "Oh," they'll say, "I was in section Q17, near the West Food Station. It was sticky, and someone stepped on my foot. But when we landed, I swear I felt the ground tremble. Not because of the jump, but because I realized we could do anything if we just did it together." Then again, maybe we just broke the Guinness World Record for most people disappointed at once. Either way, it would be one small jump for a person and a very, very tiny step for mankind.